So, Nick, a few years ago, I helped you sell Accordance with your management team and shareholder group. That was a VAT Advisory business.
Yeah.
You started planning for the sale well ahead of time. Can you just talk a little bit about why you did that, and were you glad that you did it?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I can say I'm very glad that we did it. I mean, the situation for us, we'd been going for several years. We got over the startup phase, or the very early startup phase. We were turning over a few million. The thing was that there was a kind of moment when we realised that we didn't know exactly how to take it forward. If we were going to scale, if we were going to sell, we didn't know what we didn't know. And I think you can have a situation where you're running a business successfully, but it can also feel quite isolating and uncertain. So the real thing in to begin with, bringing in the advisors, was just to get some clarity about the best ways forward. The thing was, looking back at it now, that investment, and we did do it early, but that investment paid itself over many times. I mean, I think we doubled the value of the company.
It wasn't an easy ride, was it? Because you had a couple of false starts.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of interest. There wasn't really there wasn't the sweetest of sweet deals immediately, but because we were organised, when the right people came along, we were ready to go in exactly the right way. So I'm very glad that we did that. Okay, and your business was selling to European companies, so there was a big investment stage coming up. What were your buyers really focused on commercially? What was their focus? So they were a tax technology corporation, and for them, it was a SaaS model essentially. So what they were really bothered about was recurring income. They just wanted to see repeat income going forward, and that was fine because actually we had a lot of that. But we were a compliance and consulting business, so we also had a lot of one-off advisory work, and which was central to what we were doing. It was central to the identity of the company. But one of the things that we had to do, and this was again having early advice help with this, was have a kind of culture shift within the organisation, so that the focus shifted towards just prioritising the recurring income. The other thing that they were interested in was the management team, because it's all very well, you've got these projections for the future, but who is going to deliver it? How credible and experienced are they? So they paid a lot of attention to the individuals that were involved.
You spent a lot of time to building and developing your succession plan.
Yeah.
So how is your management team going to essentially inherit the business and take it forward from some of you sellers who were going to be stepping out of the business? Can you talk a little bit about that and how that worked?
Yeah, well, I mean, the driver for it, in the first instance, was that we didn't want to stay in the business post-transaction. And actually, that is something anybody who's thinking about selling does need to, consider this, because the question is, do you really want to stay in? Do you want to work for somebody else? Would they want you to work for them? Are you actually going to be suitable in that environment? And the answer for us was absolutely, definitely no, which meant that we had to start preparing this. It was a prerequisite for doing anything, was to get some kind of leadership group in place, because it was fundamental to what was being acquired. So what we did, we put a lot of investment into professional development, into coaching individually and for the team. We also, I've mentioned before, but about the EMI scheme, we put incentives in because we were operating in a very competitive environment for people. And it turned out, the cliche about surrounding yourself with people who are better than you turned out to be completely true. I mean, by doing this, it really accelerated the business generally. And it would have made sense to do it, actually, irrespective of a sale.
Were there some challenging bits with that? So presumably you had a second tier management team who were taking direction in quite a lot of ways from you as owners. Did you have to push them to become leaders?
I think some people had, the natural inclination anyway, and it was more that people need to be coached through it to taking, just to be able to take that responsibility comfortably. I mean, to be honest, it works both ways, because we needed, as owners, coaching and some input to make the transition ourselves to a different kind of, understanding, because there's a big identity thing in this. If you've been the owner of a business, it's not straightforward to say, okay, these guys can take it from here, even if it's the rational thing to do.
Everyone says when you're selling a business, be prepared. It's all in the preparation and making sure you've done the detail. You were unusually well prepared, I think, as a business. How do you reflect back on that? How was that helpful?
Oh, it was incredibly helpful because I think the smoothness of the transaction. I mean, we were very fortunate. There's the RFD is a guy called Keith Clark, who now works with me at Actuate, who was, just brilliant. He was all over it, incredibly thorough in the preparation. And when it came to the transaction, whatever queries came up, whether it was about warranties or projections or, everything really, he was able to come back pretty much instantly. He was able to do that because of the relationships that we've had with advisors. I mean, you guys had helped us massively in just understanding, what was going to be coming at us. And I think that helped Keith. But the net effect of it was that the transaction just proceeded in a very... We kept the momentum of it all the way through. And we timed it perfectly. It was just during COVID. We were still in the aftermath of Brexit, which had a big impact on the kind of work that we did. And so we were always concerned about the potential for trading to be difficult. I mean, it didn't actually. Trading held up, but the momentum just, the deal just went smoothly, and it de-risked it from a losing the value point of view.
We always try and encourage business owners to engage with us early, because we think it helps both build a relationship and prepare the business for sale. Often people resist that because they're worried about the cost. Or could you just reflect a bit on where you think the value was?
What you get if you bring an advisor in is a kind of objectivity, some experience, some realism straight away, in a way that it's very difficult to have about your own business, which you've got all this kind of emotion about. I mean, I'll give you an example. One of the people that we brought in, a wonderful woman who I'm still friends with, she looked at the stuff that we were doing and basically just said, look, you can increase your prices significantly. And I was one of those founders who was like, oh, you can't increase the prices, all the clients will go, which is very common. But by having somebody come in and just, who understood what the market would bear, just had seen it before, it was possible to do. And I know it sounds incredibly simple, but it was possible to do something, fundamental, and it massively changed the value. Other things, like when we work with you guys about the articles, about the share agreements, it just means that those, you don't have. It kind of defuses a lot of the potential conflicts early on, which is what you want. Advisors can point out where the conflicts might be. You might have people that you've worked with for ages. You might have strategies that you've rested on for a long time. The advisors can say, well, is that still quite right? Is that fit for purpose? It takes a lot of the kind of irrational end of the emotion out of it, and it's kind of analogous to coaching. It gives you an opportunity to have a safer environment to explore what you need to explore.
Do you think it actually made you a bit less defensive, maybe, when you were asked questions by the buyer?
Oh, absolutely.
Or challenges about the business?
You'd already asked us the nastiest questions we were ever going to be asked. So comparatively, it was straightforward. Yeah, no, definitely. That's an interesting way of putting it. Actually, it just means that you're not offended when people get rough with you, which is useful for this process.
And has the business succeeded post-sale? Has it worked?
it's done very well. It's been absorbed into the larger organisation, but generally, I think a lot of people have flourished within it. I mean, we were at that point where, we'd taken it as far as we could safely take it, and it needed to be absorbed in a larger structure. So I think we contributed to them because they needed the technical expertise that we had. But a lot of our people have benefited massively from the deal as well.
And personally, you're glad you did it?
Very glad. Very glad.